Hello, everyone, and welcome back for another episode of the NFL podcast, 3 Yards and a Cloud of Dust. I'm your host, Josh, and with me, as always, my co host, Jonathan.
Hi.
And we've got quite a bit to get through today because this is the first annual 3 Yards and a Cloud of Dust mock draft.
This one will be fun.
Yeah. This will be the mock draft for the upcoming 2021 season.
Took us at least 2 hours to do it.
Oh yeah, trust me, there was a lot of arguing going on in that one. The way we have the draft is we each agreed on what player we think is going to what team for their first round. We only did the first round. We didn't go any farther than that. Otherwise, we'd be here all night.
Yep.
But before we get into that, let's get into some news and updates on trade signings, releases, and retirements. First off, we have wide receiver Taylor Gabriel, who retires after 6 years in the NFL. He played for the Browns, Falcons, and most recently the Bears.
Which is actually surprising. I wasn't expecting him to retire this soon.
Yeah, he wasn't. I can't say that he was the greatest wide receiver out there, but he was solid.
Yeah, and any team could have probably used him in their team.
Yeah.
Because he was one of those players who could go through any type of system.
Yeah, definitely.
And then we also have Damiris Randall, a cornerback who was re-signed by the Seahawks. Seahawks moved Randall from the safety to a corner.
Yeah, which is a surprising move. Obviously, with Shaquille Griffin leaving, that did leave a big gap in the corner area. So, they're trying to address that with moving Demarius Randall from safety to corner. There are some rumors circulating about possible reunion between the Seahawks and Richard Sherman, but most of that's kind of unfounded currently.
At the moment.
Yeah.
We'll see if that actually comes to play as we get closer to the season.
Yeah. Next up, running back James Conner has signed with the Arizona Cardinals on a 1-year deal. Of course, we all know Conner from the last 4 years in Pittsburgh with the Steelers, and he took over the number 1 running back role after Le'Veon Bell left. And, well, he actually took over when Le'Veon Bell decided he was going to hold out that season.
Yeah. I still don't remember what fully happened there, but that's in the past, and he's on a different team now.
Yeah, but the Cardinals were in need of some running back help after they let Kenyon Drake go, and he eventually signed with the Raiders.
Yep.
Next up, we have A.J. Boye, who has signed a 2-year, $7 million deal with the Carolina Panthers. This is a solid signing by the Panthers, although he will miss the first 2 weeks of the season to complete his suspension from last year. So he received a 6-game suspension last year for violating the PED policy. And, of course, that was at the end of the season. He served it the last 4 games. Of course, the Broncos didn't make the playoffs last year, so he'll be finishing up that suspension the first 2 games of this regular season.
I thought it was 6 games.
It was, but he served 4 games of it at the end of last year.
Oh, yeah.
So he's serving the other 2
at the beginning of this
Yep.
year. Okay. And then we have Carl Joseph, a safety whose contract hasn't been really out in the open yet.
Yeah.
But he returned to the Raiders after spending one season with the Cleveland Browns.
And a couple more surprising wide receiver moves. We've got Sammy Watkins, who's been signed on a 1-year, $5 million deal with the Baltimore Ravens. Interesting. Watkins says he thinks Lamar can be an elite passer. That's something we've had a little bit of a difference of opinion on here on this show.
It's been going back and forth. It just depends on what the situation is. And it's like he's not consistent with it. Some games he is, some games he's not. And it's like that's the issue. He's not consistent.
He really hasn't shown enough with the arm for me to believe that just yet. Now, maybe with the addition of somebody like Sammy Watkins, maybe that we will finally get to see that. Of course, they lost Willie Snead earlier this year to the Raiders. So the Raiders are out there looking to build a deadly offense.
They're stacking.  And then, actually, I say this is a good move on the Patriots' base. Julian Edelman, a wide receiver from the Patriots, retired after 12 years with New England after he was released, but after he failed his physical.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when anybody fails a physical, they pretty much get released from the team. I think that's something. I'm not sure if it's something they have to do.
It's not something they have to do because some teams will actually keep them and just try to put them back into shape, and then do it one more time and see if they pass.
Yeah, but Edelman's in his 30s. You've seen, well, he was always good for Tom Brady, but you have seen some decline over the last couple of years. And of course, I don't think
you also have Belichick, who is like Tom Brady's gone. He wants to redo the entire offense at this point.
Yep.
And build around the new quarterbacks that they're hoping to get. Hopefully.
Yeah. You think the Patriots are going to do one thing, they start heading in one direction, and then they do a completely different thing. It's like they were sitting there rebuilding the team in free agency, and you thought maybe they would try to go for a new quarterback, but of course it seems like they're sticking with Cam Newton and Jared Stidham for the time being.
Yeah.
So that's about it for our news and updates for the week. I know it's not a lot, but it's some big important ones.
Yeah, which some are bigger than others, but they're still bigger than others that are out there.
Okay, now getting into our mock draft. So as I stated earlier, we only did the first round, so we're just doing the first 32 picks. We came to the agreement that we would decide on who we think is most likely going to go to each team. So that way we're not going to be doing any they could possibly take this person, or, after we say who we think they're going to take. It's just going to be, this is basically our
opinion.
Yeah.
And it's like, if the first few are almost guaranteed.
Yeah.
It's like,
at this point, it's pretty much no-brainers.
There's a couple that may get flipped depending on what happens, but other than that, this is all full on opinion. And starting off, it's like the teams with our first round picks are the Houston Texans and the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, and of course they don't have first round picks because they've traded them away.
Yeah, to try to get better players, which may or may not pan out.
Right. And of course, the situation in Houston is constantly evolving, and we have really no idea what that front office is doing right now.
No.
It's been terrible the last several years, and it just seems like it's only getting worse.
Yep, and so we'll have to really watch them and see what actually happens.
Yeah.
So now going number one with Jacksonville Jaguars is quarterback Trevor Lawrence, which we all kind of expect. The only thing we really see that could be flipped would be with Zach Wilson, depending on if Zach Wilson made a better impression at his day.
Yeah, we both kind of agreed that it's very likely Trevor Lawrence is going first, but because of how much Zach Wilson has moved up in the rankings, thanks to his pro day, there is still that possibility with him potentially sneaking into the first spot, just because of his improvement. It could be something that's really enticing for Urban Meyer, as he's trying to rebuild this team and make it a championship caliber team.
Yep, and so, but
we both pretty much agreed that as of right now, Trevor Lawrence is a lock to go first to Jacksonville.
Yeah, and so if he does go to Jacksonville,
next up with the number 2 pick, New York Jets, Zach Wilson. So once again, it's going to go either way.
Yeah, so regardless, they're going to be 1 and 2.
Yeah. So for this one, pretty much, it's whoever doesn't go first goes second.
Yeah.
Between Lawrence and Wilson.
Because they're still the 2 top prospects for quarterback. And
yeah, absolutely.
Both of these teams need quarterbacks.
Yeah. And, of course, we know the third pick is San Francisco 49ers, which they got from the Dolphins via the Texans.
And they'll be taking Justin Fields, another quarterback.
Yeah. So we are pretty much of the opinion that the Niners are going quarterback with the number 3 overall pick. That's kind of why they traded up that high. It makes sense at this point.
I would be surprised if they don't.
Yeah.
I really would be.
And with Lawrence and Wilson gone by this point, the best option is going to be Justin Fields. We
Yeah.
don't. I know some people have been saying that they could take Mac Jones, but we looked at the stats and Fields is just he's
And
better.
Fields is better, and we both also came to agreement that Fields would also be better for the San Francisco's playoff scheme.
Yeah.
And now we go into the number 4 picks of Atlanta Falcons, taking an edge rusher, Jason Owe.
And I don't know if we're saying that right, Jason Owe. Hope we're saying it right.
Yeah.
We'll get corrected on draft day, I guess.
Yep.
But after looking at what the Falcons need, of course, one of the things is offensive line, but the other thing was the edge rush. That was something they just couldn't get down last year. They really didn't have a good pass rush on the QB. Their secondary was okay. It was doing decent. Of course, you got the aging quarterback in Matt Ryan.
Yeah, Matt Ryan did extremely well. Their offense did well with trying to keep him from getting hit, but they did not have enough pressure on the defensive side to really be able to help Matt Ryan.
Yeah, and of course they got off to that atrocious start, but their offense was playing extremely well through, what was it, the first 5 games?
I believe so.
That they lost, and it was just their defense that was kind of letting them down and
Because
letting teams come back.
they were scoring a good amount on offense.
Oh yeah, they
the
were
defense
scoring like crazy.
The defense were not stacking up.
All right, next up at number 5, we've got the Cincinnati Bengals, and we are pretty much of the agreement that they're going with offensive line, and we think they're going to take tackle. And I'm probably going to butcher this name terribly. Penei Sewell.
Which I think is going to be a good pick for them because they do need that offensive line. And I think that would actually help their offensive line a good amount.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they definitely got to get some protection for Joe Burrow.
Definitely.
Because that was just it was terrible to see him go down like that. I mean, I know Cincinnati didn't win a whole lot of games last year, but to see Joe Burrow play his heart out and then just to go down like that because he didn't have proper protection it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, because he is an extremely well quarterback and he just needs that protection so he has that little bit extra time to let the play pan out.
Yeah. Next up at number 6, we've got your Miami Dolphins,
who they also got from the Eagles, and they actually got we think that they're gonna pick up edge rusher. I will really butcher this name. Kwity Paye.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there's any other way you could pronounce that. Yeah, once again, another team that needed some edge rushing last season. Their defense actually played
extremely well. They just need that little bit extra help pushing on
to get them over that hump because they were 10-6 last year, right?
Yeah, they were playing extremely well. They just ended up falling short because they didn't have enough.
Yeah. Now, mind you, this is the first of 2 picks the Dolphins have in this draft, and that's because, like Jonathan said, this is the pick they received from the Eagles when they traded up from the 12 spot after getting the Niner pick.
Yeah, which I thought that was definitely interesting, but I really think they're going to go edge rusher first. I really do.
Yeah. And then next up at number 7, we have the Detroit Lions. We're pretty sure they're going to go wide receiver to get some help for Jared Goff, and we think they're going to take Jamar Chase.
Yeah, and that would definitely be a good pick because Jared Goff is still a decently young quarterback. He's still in his...
And Chase is the best. He's unarguably the best quarterback, or not quarterback, but wide receiver in the draft right now.
Yeah, and...
I think everybody's decided that, he's number 1. Probably the best 2 receivers in the draft are him and Kyle Pitts. So it's either they're going to take wide receiver or they're going to go tight end. And we think that they'll go wide receiver.
Yeah, because they have a decent tight end already. They just need a little bit more help on the wide receiver end to help Jared Goff.
But that leads us to our next pick at number 8 with the Carolina Panthers.
A tight end, which they're going to pick up. a tight end, Kyle Pitts, which is what we think they're going to do
Yeah.
because they do need that extra tight end spot.
Yeah, we're pretty sure they're not going to go quarterback because they've right now, as of right now, they've got both Sam Darnold and Teddy Bridgewater. So we're thinking the idea might be something similar to what they had last year,
If they
and
go,
that Bridgewater will most likely be the starter
yeah,
to
if they
start
go
the
for
season.
if they go for quarterback, it would definitely be in the later rounds because it would definitely be the third string quarterback.
Yeah, and of course, as we talked about in the previous episode, Sam Darnold's still a very young guy, so we think that they're going to do their best to try and coach him up, train him up, and he'll be the quarterback of the future. And this would be a good time for them to start trying to build a solid receiving core for Sam.
Yeah, definitely. And then we go over to a number 9 pick of the Denver Broncos.
And we are pretty sure they're going to take QB Mac Jones.
Because they don't really have a
They don't
good
have a quarterback.
at
They're
all.
terrible.
It's like right now is basically their backup, and he's not great to begin with.
Yeah. I forget who they had starting for them last season, but they've been through like 5 quarterbacks in the last 4 years.
Since Peyton Manning left.
Yeah, pretty much. It's been atrocious ever since Manning left, and they've got to do something. And of course, at this point, Mac Jones, from the stats that we were looking at, Mac Jones is the best one that's going to be left.
Yeah. And so that's who we're thinking will go number 9, number 10.
Now, but real quick though, they could potentially trade for somebody else's quarterback. Like, there's
Yes.
the possibility of Teddy Bridgewater even ending up in Denver, or if the Houston Texans finally decide they want to trade, you could see Deshaun Watson in
Yeah,
Denver. So
we
there's
can- we
still
can
that
see-
possibility.
We can see a lot of trades happening in the draft itself, too.
And that could be a big reason why Houston is holding on to Deshaun Watson for now.
Yeah, because they may want to use him for basically a poker chip to trade up.
Yeah, because I mean, if you're possibly Miami or Detroit, and then all of a sudden, Houston says, okay, we're willing to trade Deshaun Watson. Give us your best offer.
Yeah.
Somebody like
Deshaun Watson is a good quarterback, and he is still a young player who can develop extremely well.
Yeah, I think Carolina, Denver, a couple other teams would jump at the chance to go for Deshaun Watson.
Yeah. And then we go to the number 10 pick of the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, and this one took a little bit because we weren't really sure, but then we kind of came to the
Agreement.
consensus that they needed help at the corner position. So at number 10, we're pretty sure Dallas is going to take Patrick Surtain.
Because that's actually
Corner.
going to be a good pick for them because they will actually strengthen up their
Yeah,
corner. And
their
because,
secondary was absolutely atrocious last year.
Because I want to say they only won 6 games, 6-7 games.
Something like that. It was
but
it was bad.
It was a definitely losing season, and I don't know how they were even
But,
close
I mean,
to
they
making
looked
playoffs.
even before Dak got hurt last year. Their defense just looked terrible, and it has for a couple of seasons now.
So they really need this extra person to step up and start helping them build their defense.
Yeah, and then next up at number 11, we have the New York Giants, and
We really think they're going to tackle Christian Darrisaw.
Darisaw. Yeah.
Darrisaw, thank you. I don't know why I said a B.
Just because they need help protecting Daniel Jones. I actually like Daniel Jones. I think he's got a lot of potential. He just needs some protection.
he has weapons around him. He has his defense to help him.
Yeah.
But he needs that line to help him be able to.
I do think they need some help on defense, and I think they'll address that in the later rounds,
But
like the second round and beyond. But they do need some help right up front to protect him because we saw he had to run a lot last year.
oh yeah, and it was ridiculous.
And then of course he that one wide open run that he almost scored on that he decided to trip at the 10-yard line.
Yeah,
That was
I still don't know what happened.
That's like I understand you've got a mobile quarterback. Yes, you want that effect. You want to have that, especially in today's league. But you don't want to have your quarterback run that often. If he breaks free for a big long one,
Like
then
he
okay.
did.
That's
Because I want to say he started running at like the 2-yard line.
yeah, it was something. He came out of nowhere and just started bolting. and he, nobody was near him. He was gonna score until he, somebody threw a stick under his foot or something.
It was something.
Somebody sniped him on his way to the end zone. Oh, that's going to be right up there with the butt fumble from Mark Sanchez.
Here's a gumball.
And then next up we have at number 12 the Philadelphia Eagles, who got this pick from the Dolphins after they got it from the Niners.
And we really think they're going to go wide receiver Devontae Smith. And this is almost a...
Devonta.
Thank you, Devonta Smith. And really, this is...
They need weapons. That's hands down. If they're going to go... If they're going to give this Jalen Hurts thing a try, they're going to need some legitimate weapons, because their wide receivers that they went out and got last year just did not do anything. Out.
No. It was really bad, and they really need actually some weapons downfield.
Yeah.
And now we go to the number 13th pick of the LA Chargers.
And we believe that they're going to take guard Wyatt Davis just to get some more. Once again, it's very similar to the Daniel Jones situation with the Giants. They need, and of course, Joe Burrow with the Bengals. They need help protecting Justin Herbert.
And the only way they can actually be able to make it into playoffs, actually stay in playoffs, is by protecting your quarterback, and that's the only way you can really do that.
Yeah, and of course we got some really good young quarterbacks coming into the league last year. Now they need protection.
Yep, and like the saying always went, which you actually said earlier just before we started recording. Yes, offense wins games, but defense wins championships.
Yeah, but except this guy's for the offense.
Yes, but this would definitely. But you see where I'm going with this. It's like if you have a good offensive line to protect your quarterback, there's a good chance you will win games. And if you can win games, you're on the right track.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. The defense is like, or the offensive line is like the defense on offense.
Yeah.
And I probably just lost a ton of people by saying that. So next up, we've got at the number 14th pick, the team from the land of small sodas, the Minnesota Vikings.
Which we think that they're going to take a safety on this one with Trevon Moehrig. I really butchered that
don't
name.
know how to pronounce that last name, but they need depth.
Yeah.
They need help with their secondary. They were middle of the pack last year. They weren't awful, but they weren't great. So they need help in a lot of different spots, and I think a good safety can always help solidify your defense.
And they don't really want to be in the giant drought that they were in before they made playoffs before, because they were in a giant drought of no playoffs for quite some time.
Yeah.
And so finally, when they get playoffs, they were in it. They got knocked out, and then they couldn't get back in it.
They also need a new quarterback.
So, but
moving on.
Number
15, we've got the New England Patriots, who also need a new quarterback. But we're pretty sure they're going to go ahead and take wide receiver Terrace Marshall. Terrace, not Terrence. Terrace.
And this is actually going to be a good pick because they have...
Well, with Julian Edelman gone, yes, they picked up Nelson Aguilar in free agency. They need
that.
They've got
extra.
two really good tight ends now, so I think they continue to build that receiving core so that way they just, for whoever ends up being the starter here within the next 2 years, they've got that core ready to go.
Yeah, and we really think Terrace Marshall has that speed and has that ability to beat out the cornerbacks and get more receptions and more yards.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then going in as a number 16
going in at number 16.
At 16, thank you. I can't talk now.
Could you before?
At 16, Arizona Cardinals, we think they're going to take cornerback J.C. Horn.
Yeah, well, with Patrick Surtain gone, he's the next best guy. The first three corners that we have going in the draft are all they all are really close in stats. they all play.
Similarly.
Yeah. So we think at this point it's just kind of, except for the next pick, which we'll talk about here in a second, who is a little further down from some of the others. JC he's rated as the second best corner in the draft, and I think that's just kind of the way it plays out. And of course, with the Cardinals letting go of Patrick Peterson, they need that help in the defensive back department.
Yeah. And now going as number 17,
the
former Oakland.
This will be the second year they draft as the Las Vegas Raiders, and I believe after reading his stats, I was convinced that they would go offensive guard.
But
this player, honestly, if they don't go get this guy, I'm actually going to be really upset. And
because I think
Greg Newsome.
Because you were saying line and I was saying corner.
Yeah.
And once we actually start looking at this corner, we're both like, yeah.
Yeah, with who we had left on the offensive line and who we had left in the defensive back department, looking at it, if they let this guy go, I think it would be a big mistake because yes, while I think they oh my god, I'm spacing on names here.
I don't know who you're talking about. So
I was going to talk about their defensive backs. They've got guys like Carl Joseph. They've got Jonathan Abrams at the safety. I think they've got those things locked down now. Plus, they've got some depth behind them. They need to focus on getting guys that are NFL ready at the corner position who could stand up to these highly talented NFL wide receivers who just seem to be everywhere nowadays. So, and I like what we read with Greg Newsome. Unfortunately, I never, I didn't see him in any game action, but he gets high praise. So, I'm thinking this would be the perfect first round pick for the Raiders.
Definitely.
And moving on, we have the Miami Dolphins' second pick at number 18.
Which we think they're going to go wide receiver this time around with Jalen Waddle. And reason being, they do need that extra weapon on the outside and on offense. And we looked at Jason Waddle's stats, and it is just unbelievable.
For a guy his size, too. Yeah. He's like, he's one of that pair with him and Devonta Smith in Alabama who, not prototypically sized for wide receivers, with Smith being a thinner, taller guy. And then you've got Waddle, who's shorter, but he's a threat. He's
more
almost
agile.
He's almost like a Tyreek Hill.
And he's definitely gonna be dangerous once he gets in an open field.
Yeah.
And now we go to number 19, the Washington Football Team.
And we're pretty sure they're gonna take offensive linemen at this point. So with what we had left for the first round, top talent, we picked tackle Rashawn Slater.
And just to let you guys know, we were picking from the top 100 top prospects. So we were looking at a lot of different prospects for.
We did go. I think we did go a little bit past in some of our considerations, but I don't think anybody outside the top 100 actually made it into our picks.
No, I think the
maybe
most,
one guy.
I think the most we hit was about 90. I want to say we hit.
Well, I know a couple of the guys that we looked at were like 120 and 130.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I don't think they made it on here.
I think one might have, but I don't remember who. But I do know there was an 86 one.
Yeah. So moving on to pick 20, the Chicago Bears, and here's your boy.
And this is on who we were looking at. It was, he ended up being a number 6 out of the top 100, and it's actually a guard. It's like this guy was on the list we were talking about, looking at. He was at number 86, and he's actually a guard, and his stats was just unbelievable compared to the other two guys above him. And it's guard Ben Cleveland, which...
He's got the size, he's got the physicality, he's got the stats.
And he's consistent.
Yeah.
Which is a big piece. And it's like, that is something you definitely need as a guard is consistency.
Yep, absolutely.
And now going as number 21 is the Indy Colts.
Well, they're going to need some weapons now that they've got Carson Wentz as their quarterback. So I think the best one that we had left was wide receiver Elijah Moore.
Yeah, and with how far down they won't gonna be getting anyone really.
But I still
secure,
think Moore could be solid.
Oh yeah,
definitely think he
with
could
a little
be,
bit with a little bit of help from the coaching staff, because I know they have a solid wide receiving coaching staff. It's like he can be a dangerous wide receiver with a little bit of help.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because he has the talent, he has the ability. He just needs that slightly edge to put him over the top.
And then next at 22, we've got the Tennessee Titans, and we're pretty sure they're going to take the son of legendary corner Asante Samuels,
The cornerback
Asante Samuels Jr.
And even if he plays exactly like his dad, he would be a tremendous cornerback.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's like those really.
And that was pretty much, for a team that needs some help in the secondary, it was a no-brainer for the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, and
with what's most likely going to be left at that point.
Yeah, and this would definitely be interesting because if they do actually pan out and actually do end up getting Asante Samuel, sorry,
you had to look at the paper to remember how to pronounce his name. Yes. I mean, come on, man.
Asante Samuel Jr. He's gonna be one of the best cornerbacks you could pick up in this draft. And he would definitely, I think he would mesh well with the team.
Yeah. So next at 23, the New York Jets' second pick of the draft. And we're pretty sure they're going to go with guard Kendrick Green.
Which
they're either going to get Lawrence or Zach Wilson. This is a consistent theme. They need guys to guard them. That's one of the Jets' offensive line has just been terrible over the last couple of years, and that's why I'm pretty sure. That's one of the reasons why Sam Darnold has just not performed well.
Yeah, and because he doesn't have the weapons.
Yeah,
and he doesn't have the protection.
And at number 24, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers.
And we really think they're going to take a quarterback. With signing Ben Roethlisberger only to a one-year deal, there has to be something within that on why they only signed a one-year deal with him.
Yeah, and I think he kind of has to get over himself a little bit and train the new guy.
Which we think they're going to take cornerback Kyle Trask.
Yeah. So we really think that with all the other quarterbacks that are going to be gone at this point, Kyle Trask is going to be the best one left. He's got the most experience out of everybody else. Either somebody else has... The other guys have either missed a year or they haven't played as much during their careers. So I just think he's probably the most NFL ready. So if for some reason Ben Roethlisberger decides he doesn't want to help his eventual replacement, even though at this point he's got to know it's coming, especially after only being re-signed for a one-year deal.
Which wasn't much.
Yeah. At this point, if you're not
expecting to have to train the new guy, then you're going to be really in for a newsflash.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're playing for a team that you claim to love playing for, why wouldn't you want to train up the next guy to see them continue to succeed? Because he's only ever played as a Steeler. He's most likely going to retire as a Steeler. If the Steelers don't re-sign him again after this year, he's probably not going anywhere else because, number one, I don't think anybody's willing to take a chance on him.
Oh, no, he's done after this year.
So, I don't know if he's going to be done after this year, but...
Oh, I know he's going to be done. I want to say he's in his early 40s already.
No, Ben, he's in his late 30s.
It's like 38, 39, but it's
he's close. He's closing in on 40.
But he's had a lot of injuries, and I think he's going to be done.
Yeah, and his play has been steadily declining. I mean, even though the Steelers won their first 11 games last season, it wasn't because of him.
No.
It was largely because of the defense and the running game.
Yep. And now, the number 25 pick...
The second pick for the Jacksonville Jaguars
is... which they got from the Rams. We really think they're going to be taking a tackle, Trayvon Jenkins.
Tavon,
thank you. And it's like they It's like with picking up Travis Lawrence, they're definitely gonna need that help on the offensive end, just trying to protect them. And then we go to the 26th pick, which is the Cleveland Browns, and we really think they're gonna be taking linebacker Micah Parsons. Parsons, thank you.
Yeah. The Browns have a really solid offense. Their biggest needs are on defense, and obviously one of the positions that they were lacking in last year was linebacker. So this one's a no-brainer. He's Micah Parsons is pretty much rated as the best linebacker in the draft. So if he's still available when time comes, why wouldn't you take him?
Exactly. And I don't really have anything to add to that one because it's like he's one of the best, and I guarantee he is gonna be started away by the time the season starts.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then to the 27th pick, the Baltimore Ravens.
And we're thinking they're going to take wide receiver Kadarius Toney. And I probably did not say that right at all. I apologize. I am not good with reading names. Well, at least pronouncing names that I haven't heard. So
We'll definitely find out in the draft if
yeah.
we say correct.
But, going back to the whole Jared Goff thing, they've got, obviously, the Baltimore Ravens, they have their franchise quarterback with Lamar Jackson. One of their biggest knocks against him is that he hasn't really had anybody to throw to him now. He's got Sammy Watkins, so they're going to need a little bit more depth. And with the other guys that we were pretty sure are already going to be gone by this point, it fell to Tooney to basically be the best one left.
Yeah, and he would definitely be a decent fit for them, and I don't really think he's gonna be a long-term fit for them. I really don't, but
I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to see how all that pans out.
So at number 28, we have the New Orleans Saints.
And we really think that they're going to be taking a linebacker to help this defensive line. Jabril Cox, I really think I butchered that name a little bit, but that's how I see it. And that's...
Yeah, I'm pretty sure when we were looking, there was another linebacker rated above him, but when we looked and compared their stats, Jabril Cox has just kind of stood out, and it was like, oh wow, why wouldn't you take this guy?
Yeah.
I think it was the consistency factor of like he was performing every year at pretty much the same level. Yeah, this past season, of course, he played a few less games than he normally did, but we basically projected that if he had played those extra few games to match what he had his previous 2 seasons, it would have been all of his numbers would have been very, very close. So he's actually really, really consistent, which is something you can't overrate enough.
No, and you want consistency at that position. It's like you can't really judge that. It's like you really want consistency, and I think that's gonna be your best bet.
Yeah.
Going in at number 29 with the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, and this is another team that needs some help on their secondary. So we're pretty sure with who's left at this point, it's going to be corner Caleb Farley.
And he is a decent cornerback, and he can help the team do a little bit better on defense. I really think getting this guy will help them a bit.
And then at number 30, we have the Buffalo Bills.
This one we went back and forth on a little bit, and we both agreed on the defensive lineman Christian Barmore.
Yeah. And I mean, we pretty much agreed right away that their offense is pretty much set. They really don't need a whole lot there. They've got their number ones at just about every position.
It was depending on what position would they actually take, and we both agreed on linebacker.
Defensive line,
linebacker.
There's 2 different things, buddy. And then at 31, we have the Kansas City Chiefs. And with everything that we've been hearing coming out of Kansas City the last couple of days, or last several weeks actually, they need help on the offensive line because a few guys, either they're choosing not to re-sign because of limited cap space, or because of the fact that they're aging. So at this point, we we're pretty sure they're going to take tackle Dylan Radins, and I'm probably not saying that, although I compared him to Raditz from Dragon Ball Z, which was kind of funny. Because then we looked up his picture and we imagined him with long hair, and he actually kind of looks like Raditz, and it was hilarious for us at least. Some of you Dragon Ball fans might actually find that funny, if there are any out there.
And then we're going to the Super Bowl champs at number 32, the Tampa Bay Bucks, who we think that they're actually going to take a quarterback, even though they just signed Tom Brady to an extension.
I had to convince you of this one, though.
Yes, you had to convince me because I really don't think they're gonna take a quarterback, really. But
I think they have to because, like I said, yes, they have Tom Brady. Yes, he just signed a quarterback extension. However, they also re-signed all of their all of their starters from the prior season. So everybody that started last season's coming back. Now, obviously, there's no guarantee that they're all going to perform at the same level.
yeah,
But the thing about Tom Brady's is all of those years he just signed to the extension are voidable, which means if the team decides they want to move on from him after this season, or he decides that he doesn't want to come back, then they can void it and they're not out of any money or anything like that. It just gives that option of he can come back if we and he choose to.
So it's basically, and
So
the entire extension is a player's choice.
Yeah. So at this point, you have to find the heir to the dynasty that's going to become the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
And what better one than a Kellen Mond?
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, we think that there are better choices out there, but what's going to be left by the 32nd pick of the first round, we're pretty sure that it's going to be Kellen Mond.
Because we already know a lot of quarterbacks are going to go in the first round, and it's like, and most of them will go within the first 15, 16 picks.
Yeah.
And so at this point, it's like at the end of the draft, first round of the draft, it's like, okay, what quarterbacks are really left?
Yeah. Yeah, we're pretty sure especially with Fields, Wilson, Lawrence, Trask, they're all going to be gone. Jones is going to be gone, most likely going to be gone by then. I guess there is some possibilities if certain guys are still left that they could end up falling to the Bucks, but I'm pretty sure they're going quarterback.
Yeah.
Just to
same.
find, at least a decent backup for Tom Brady.
Yeah, it's like, and especially with Tom Brady, he would be willing to help train the next one behind him.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know if he's willing. He's kind of done it before.
He's done it before, and he knows that he has the ability to. And I think knowing his age and he's getting to the end, I think helping the team get a quarterback and building that new quarterback up to be a franchise quarterback is what he's going to be doing.
I think Tom, he does have some diva moments. I don't think he's a diva like I think Ben Roethlisberger and Aaron Rodgers are.
It's like, yes, he does have some diva moments, but most of those are coming off of other people bickering at him, but he brings it out.
Look at how many rings the man's got. He's working on the second hand.
He's already on the second hand.
Yes, Ben Roethlisberger helped Pittsburgh get to their franchise sixth. They've won 6 Super Bowls, right? Something like that. And then, of course, New England has 7?
7 with Tom Brady.
Yeah, and now Tom Brady has.
No, 6 with Tom Brady. 7th was with the Bucks.
Something like that.
Because
all I know is Tom Brady's got all those rings. He's got one for every finger of at least one hand, and then he's starting on the second. So
because actually, in that Super Bowl commercial of the 100th year anniversary, when
hold these,
there was a total of 5 rings in that. He still won one more with the Patriots before he moved.
Yeah.
So that meant he had, because I want to say he still had 2 more years, and he won at least one of those.
Yep, and now that he's gone, New England's never going to win another Super Bowl. But anyway, so that's our mock draft for the first round. Sorry if it's a little confusing. Hopefully the next time we do this, it'll be a lot more in-depth, and maybe by that time we'll actually have a lot more going on with the show.
And a studio.
Yeah, that would be nice. But I want to thank everybody for coming in and joining us, and this was really fun for us to do. Jonathan and I got to argue over certain things for a lot, and he got to
Friendly
convince me.
bickering.
He got to convince me of certain things, and after thinking about it for a little bit, I was like, yeah, all right. And then I got to do the same for him, and he got to see that I know a lot more about football than he does, and
Which we already knew. I'm definitely more of a baseball guy, but it's like I do know a little bit about football.
yeah. But anyways, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you think.
Leave a comment on any suggestions.
And please in the comments, please let us know how right you think we are. Are we completely wrong about who's going to go first? Who do you think is going to go number 1 overall? Do you agree with us that it's going to be Trevor Lawrence, or do you think it's going to be somebody out of the blue? Also, I want to give a very big shout out to my friends and family who have recently thrown in their support for the show. You do not know how much I appreciate you doing that for us. It will help immensely in the long run. And to everyone that has supported us from the very beginning up to now, even the new ones that have just come in within the recent week. We love you. We thank you. And until the next one, we'll see y'all later.
Bye.